Okay, good evening. Let's call the meeting to order, and we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We have a roll call, please.
Kivel,
Here.
Bartlett,
Yes.
Ewan,
Here.
Lee,
Here.
and Gonzalez.
Here. Okay, thank you. Is there any review conflict on any of the members? Seeing none, we'll go to approval of the agenda this evening with one exception. I'd like to add item 9B, which will be another vote on the changing the meeting dates of the future meetings for the rest of the year. Okay,
Well, I'll make a motion that we approve the agenda with that change. Second.
okay, moved by Rod, second by John, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. All right, we'll have our first public comment, which will be at 6:31. Seeing nobody, we will close the public comment. 6:31. Correspondence? John?
No correspondence. Sure.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. Just from our attorney. That's, I'm thinking from the public.
Okay.
Emails, no public correspondence. But we have the attorney correspondence. Thank you.
Thank you. Reports for the township?
Yeah, we had a meeting, gosh, was it last week? They all run together. We went through our audit and had a clean audit that was reported last week. We did have one item that was a deficit elimination plan, that one of the special assessments for one of the roads that we, the township self-funded. In other words, we became the bank for the special assessment instead of going out and getting a bond. The way the accounting works, it made us look like we were in a negative position in that fund, because the money doesn't come in as a revenue when it's transferred from the general fund to the special assessment. Anyway, it's a bookkeeping matter, and so we had to submit a deficit elimination plan to the state before they would accept our audit, and so we did that. That was approved last week, and so we are all good.
All right.
So, yeah, other than that, it was a report meeting, so wasn't a lot of activity that we had to vote on. We do have a special meeting tomorrow night for the, call it the sewer project, but it's Lift Station 1. It's the duplicate line from Lift Station 1 to the water treatment plant for Acme. It's going to be joint Acme, East Bay, and then there's like 800 feet of Garfield line that we're going to have to work with. So that's tomorrow night. So just moving forward, that's that $11 million project that we've been working on for a couple of years. So, but yeah, we have another meeting on that tomorrow night. And then, of course, we did approve the Beach District plan, or the moving forward of the corridor improvement plan. So that open house is tomorrow, or Wednesday. So, yep. I think that's it.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
The my report for the Planning Commission was that we had really nothing more than different discussions on different topics, where we were talking about, first of all, the temporary dwellings. That was a discussion for the board. We reviewed some language and, but not have taken action as yet. We had some discussion on steep slopes and permanent pavers, permeable pavers, which were just the beginning of the discussions, but I think it's going to have some impact on us down the road, especially when we start talking about slopes and the preservation thereof, as well as how the pavers would work in relation to the 20% requirement. So that is two items that, stay tuned. It's going to come down. And then finally, they had a review of the agricultural open space forum, and that was just discussion on going forward as to how we will best work with developers with respect to agricultural land and new developments. And that was what we had. But again, I'll point out that there are two topics that will be coming back to us. We'll see them here. So, Bill?
Report from the Planning and Zoning Department. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Okay, has everybody read the minutes? Okay, the last meeting.
Make a motion that the minutes be approved as presented.
I will second that motion.
Okay, moved by John to approve the minutes, seconded by Ron. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. All right, to the moment at hand. This would be the appeal for a zoning ordinance on a, let me get that here. Basically, it's a request for a variance for Dana and Jamie Livingston, applicant of a parcel of land commonly known as 641 Pennsylvania Trail, Traverse City, located in the Lakes Area Zoning District. The request is for a variance to allow for a motorized lift to provide access to the water. This would be a second staircase, path, or ramp in the riparian setback area when only one is allowed per the section 38B1A of the East Bay Charter Township zoning ordinance. Bill? Normally you would set the table, but I will point out that subsequent to receiving our staff review in the packet, we received a letter from our attorney respecting the handling of this particular case. And I would assume everybody has had a chance to read that letter? Okay. That being, we'll go forward on the basis of that attorney's recommendation and evaluation of the request. Bill, hey, have anything to add to that?
I don't. Thank you.
Sarah?
I think once we get through presentations, then we can talk about what questions you're going to be evaluating against. Would that be appropriate, or would you like me to talk about that a little bit now?
Well, let's talk about it now, and then we'll get into it.
Okay. So yeah, in your staff report, we have your basic, variance criteria that you see every month here, but you'll note in the information you receive from the attorney, they are saying that because this is falling under the Americans with Disability Act, that would control and that you would not use your general criteria that's in the staff report. So Nicole, with the attorney's office, kind of provided two questions that you're going to evaluate this application against, and that's being, is the accommodation reasonable? And then, is it necessary to afford equal opportunity for this application. And so you are looking, I mean, it's still specific to this property owner, to this property, to their request. And since it is specific to that, you can also have conditions related specific to their request as well, similar to any other variance that we have. But if there's something that you're feeling helps to put kind of guardrails onto the application or the outcome of it, we can still do conditions on it.
Okay. That being said, I'll invite the applicant to come forward.
Thank you very much. My name is Janine Livingston, and my husband Dana is here, and we also have Harold from the manufacturer of the funicular that we'd like to install. I'd like to start by giving you just a little bit of background information on how this all came about. When we were looking to purchase our home, our retirement home in the Traverse City area on a lake in early '23, one of the features we required was 2 primary bedrooms, one for my husband and myself, and one on the main floor for my aging mother and her husband, who were 91 at the time. We knew that they would be spending a lot of time with us every month, and at some point, when their care needs increased, they would be moving in with us. So that was a requirement. At that time, COVID was, widespread, and housing was crazy, and houses were selling very fast, and prices were going up every month. And we found this house on Spider Lake that had the 2 bedrooms, which was just perfect. But then when we saw the stairs, we're like, oh my gosh, this is not going to work. We didn't find anything else for months, and we went back to that house 3 times before we decided that it was the best we're going to get. So we bought the house with the plan immediately to install a funicular, which I'm very familiar with because my brother has one on Crystal Lake, and all the houses next to him, they're on a high bluff, they have funiculars as well. So this was not anything new to me. In fact, my brother has the same one from Harold. Our home that we purchased is located on the bluff on Spider Lake. It's called the High Bluff area, and it's one of the highest, if not the highest house relative to the lake, on the lake. Our house sits at 926 feet of elevation, which is about 60 feet above the lake. Most other houses on the bluff sit a bit lower and closer to the lake. So even though the elevation, if you look at elevations around the lake, there's 900 feet in a lot of spots, but the houses aren't at that level. Ours is. We have 91 steps going from the house to the lake level. And we, do our boat tours every year, and when we look at the houses, there's only a handful of houses that have close to the number of steps that we have. So we feel, this is an extraordinary property in that regard. The topography and where the house is sitting on the lot at the highest point is unique. My 93-year-old mother moved in with us in March this year after her husband, my stepdad, passed away in February. She uses a walker and cannot navigate steps without help, and we have a doctor's note on that regard. We are requesting this variance to allow us to install a chairlift funicular from our house to the shoreland to allow my mother to access the shore as well as get into the pontoon boat. Right now, we don't take her very often. A funicular is not a staircase, path, or ramp. It is a mechanical piece of equipment that sits above the ground with minimal disturbance to the soil and vegetation underneath. There's no digging. Water easily passes through everything except for the actual chair that moves up and down the hill. So from an erosion standpoint, really in my opinion, it's a non-issue. It appears to us that the new ordinance allowing only one staircase, path, or ramp did not really consider funiculars, which are quite common, and Harold can speak to that, around Crystal Lake and other lakes in Michigan. I actually have some pictures of what this chairlift looks like, in case you guys haven't. We can just quickly pass this around. you can see from the pictures that it's literally a track that's going to go straight down, and with a couple of chairs and a platform that just slowly goes up and down the rail. Harold will actually talk a little bit more of the installation and what's involved, because there's no concrete. This is all fairly straightforward. And the vegetation that we have now will fully exist when this is installed. So at this point, if it's okay, I'd like to turn it over to Harold just to talk a little bit about that.
So, to help you guys understand a chairlift, it is considered not a structure, permanent structure. It is temporary. Basically, we drive 2-inch piles every 8 feet, and then we build our track on that. Generally, they go into the ground roughly, let's say, 10 feet. It's a plus or minus. Engineer determines how deep they go. It's got to be able to handle 2-to-1 load capacity, which is no concern here. But if we ever had to, let's say they decided to sell their house, it could be put into the deed that they need to sell it to someone in limited ability, like so, or have it removed. And that is something that is not unusual to us. We've had to move them, we've transferred them to other property, and we've had some that were damaged, and then they, rather than replace it, they ask us to remove it. So that is not an unusual situation. I do have a letter from the engineer explaining the information, if there's any question on that. Interestingly enough, I've been building elevators, I've been part of this for probably about 20 years. I started out as an inspector for the engineer, and I got lured into building them, and now I'm part owner of the company. The idea with a chairlift is the state would not grant us a stair lift unless there was a stairs on the same property. And for the life of me, I don't know why that's important. We've actually fought that. But their idea is if there's ever a problem, they need to have access. Now, here in a lake situation, obviously, if something does happen with the elevator and it does not operate, which occasionally it happens, it's pretty rare, but anything can happen. You can lose power. A kid could come by and hit a button at the top or the bottom, and the elevator is dead in the tracks unless somebody goes down there and pulls out that button. First, you have to know what was done, There are slack sensors on the elevators that eliminate its function occasionally, and those things happen. So let's say someone's down at the bottom, they're out enjoying the water, somebody goes along, pushes that button at the top or the bottom. I mean, there's no way for that person with the limited mobility, let alone people that are just generally old and can't climb stairs. So if there's at least an emergency, firemen, rescue workers at least have the access. So only having one is, I would say, short-sighted, even though I understand you're trying to minimize development on a pristine piece of property. They're not able to divide the property and they have 2 accesses. It's written in the zoning, and it can actually be added to their deed. So there's not a question there. The only thing we're coming at is there is a definite disability, and to make things equal or justice is to allow a tram for that person to have access. And then the problem comes in with the stairs and with the elevator when there's compliances that say you can't have both, two-pack on a limited piece of property. But you're putting these people at a disadvantage and disvaluing their property and their life. And so we would appreciate reasonable consideration to grant the variance. Anybody have any questions for me?
Tell me about the maintenance.
We provide annual maintenance. Generally, the first year, we're going to come in and check all the connections, grease, lubricate, run safety checks on it. The biggest concern is you don't want a runaway elevator. So there's a few things that are on that elevator or tram to eliminate it from running around. There's a safety cable that goes right down through the center of it. If for any reason that goes over, I think it's 105 feet per minute, which is not all that fast, it's going to lock it right up, and it's not going to be able to go, and we have to come out and release it. Also, it has a slack sensor on it, and we have to verify that every so often. And then the third thing is there's a it's not overspeed, but it's a motor that is designed not to let it slip. Okay, when it's off, it's not going to move. And I honestly don't know all the specifics about it. So when we come in, basically all we're going to do is make sure all the nuts and bolts are connected, all the cables are in fine shape, the safety cables. We make sure all the sensors are working, the computer seems to be operating properly, grease, lube. And we do it the first year for free, and then after that, we charge I think it's like a $5.50 should they desire, and it's on their responsibility. So
How is the chair powered?
it's 240, and usually, I think they will have a 3-horse motor. It might be a 5, I'm not sure, but I think it's a 3-horse. And then it has a traction drive. So it runs.
Could you keep by the
Oh,
microphone,
I'm sorry.
please? Thank you.
Traction drive. Can't tell I'm a little French. So one cable goes to the top of the elevator, all right, and dead ends at it. Comes up through a pulley system, goes all the way down to the bottom, and there's another shiv or pulley, and it comes up to the front. So it's kind of like a push-pull, and then that motor, just out of pure traction, pulls that elevator up and down.
So there's a cable involved in the process.
Yeah,
So
there's
the
a cable
motor-
there.
The motor is not on the car
No,
itself.
it's in the power head, and then there's a second cable, which is the safety cable over speed on the brake. So,
You had mentioned that you, every 8 feet, you put down the
set of piles.
piles 10 feet down? Did you say?
I tell you the truth, I'd have to look in approximately, yes. Sometimes the engineer requires more than that, sometimes they don't. I do have a report, I could look it up, what he recommended. I can grab it real quick.
And the pile is a 2-inch diameter tube.
Well, this is being recorded, so when you have people speaking off, the audience can't hear.
He gives a pretty elaborate report, and if anybody wants to look it over,
We trust you.
I was going to say,
he's got it at 13.5 feet.
okay.
And I do have, it's a Schedule 40 SS galvanized steel pipe that's rated for roughly 50 years. And I do have specs on that, hopefully here. If not, it's probably in his report, but I can make that available. Go ahead.
Is that,
So when you say the word pile, just so people aren't visualizing some large piece of wood or something, it's a 2-inch diameter
Steel
pipe.
pipe, yep.
yes,
Okay.
okay. But it's 13.5 feet is the recommendation.
Yes.
Is that true of all the piles, or is it just does it taper off as you go down the slope of the hill, or is that, it looks to me on this drawing,
Yeah,
that it looks to me pretty even.
he recommended 13.5 all the way through. So what he does is, he takes usually 3 soil borings, goes down to about 10, 12 feet actually, and he does blow counts of the soil, okay? And then he's got 3 different selections, and if there's very little variance, he's gonna go consistently with the whole set of piles that deep, which I assume that, there is a report in here too on how he determined it. But he said there wasn't very much difference in the soil material, so he wanted to see 13.5. Now, when I go out there, it doesn't mean I have to go 13 and a half feet. That's what he's recommended. I can sometimes go down and, let's say I hit a rock at 4 foot. Well, I have a minimum of, I think it's 5 or 7.5, I have to check his report, that my pipe has to go down before I get a rejection. And rejection just means that I can drive it for like 5, 10 minutes and it's not going down any. It's just mauling the pipe, detonating it up and not doing any good. So the only thing with that is when we're done, well, if I got deep enough, let's say 6 foot, 7 foot, whatever minimum requirement, that's good. But I have to test it afterwards. So we bring in a load-bearing machine, actually it's a drop hammer, and we calculate how much it can move in so many inches. And usually if you have rejection like that, you can't drive it. You know, you give it the blows and then you measure it, how much it went down, it doesn't drop any. But the other choice is if I hit something below the minimum requirement, I go down 4 foot, half the distance, set a couple more pipe, and then carry on. So,
Okay, so you don't stop and dig down to remove the
no, I'd leave
obstacle, whatever it is.
I'd leave it intact, yes.
Okay. My concern is about erosion. I mean, going down 13 feet and at 8-foot intervals, how does that, in your experience, how has that held up over the Michigan winters and water runoff and things of that nature? Because you do have, am I correct that this slope is like 22, almost 23 degrees?
Yeah. This would probably be the second, and I'm going to say mildest, least slope that we've ever experienced. Generally, they're usually a little bit more pitched, and that's because of Lake Michigan. We've lost 2 elevators over the years from erosion, and it's not necessarily from the water runoff, it's from the water coming up on Lake Michigan. If it gets up high enough that you got the wave surging up and down, it would scour the pipe and leave it exposed. Here, we don't have any problems with this, the high water on that lake. It's not gonna scour it. We're not looking at big waves or anything. I mean, we're gonna have a hurricane, but that's a lifetime event, if that. Far as rain erosion, I can have the engineer testify because he does inspection when we're done. It's non-existent. I'm not gonna say there is none, because rain on a hill without pipe in there has some erosion, but it's pretty much non-existent. You take the 2-inch pipe, you drive it in the ground, it's no different than putting in a 4x4 post if you don't have to excavate the dirt. It's just like something, or a rock sitting there, or a tree stump, you know? They're pretty much non-existent, especially on a mild slope.
Trenton, questions?
I do like the U of M. Go blue.
Uh-oh.
Well, it doesn't mean I'm not a personal friend with Mark D'Antonio.
Oh, that was a bad move.
Getting rid of Mark?
No, I'm just,
We actually built one next to Mark D'Antonio, and so I got to know him personally. He'd get up early in the morning in the summer, and he'd be running on the beach and everything, and so I'm a big football fan, and so, but I grew up with dreams of taking over for Harbaugh playing quarterback and Ricky Leach and all that kind of stuff, so.
Tracy?
No, I mean, I was out there, it's a beautiful piece of property. I think I saw you walking up the stairs, I'm like, yeah, I don't know that I could walk up those stairs, but.
Was that today or a while back?
Today, yeah.
I stopped in there and I made sure it was all disconnected.
Yeah.
Because there was some concern. We did put the track in because I wanted to get the angle for the landing and everything, and we did not put any permanent pipe in it, so, and you can see the straps holding it.
Yep.
You know, we wouldn't obviously have that if it was a permanent thing.
Yeah.
But
No, I just was looking at, the site. Anyway, I mean, his explanation of the pylons and how it's constructed, I, don't see an issue necessarily with it. And with the letter from the attorney, I don't know that I really have any questions.
Rod?
Just one question out of interest. How
much?
No. No, but I love the name Chairlift, so I'm a ski patroller, so 40 years of that, so chairlifts are cool, but, life expectancy, typically on these.
We, been in the business, Incline Solutions, a little over 20 years. We've never had one that has been taken out of commission because of any particular failure.
Okay.
Occasionally, we lose a computer, sometimes lightning. We've had some erosion from Lake Michigan coming up. And we've replaced motors and we've replaced cables.
Sure.
But anything mechanical, you're gonna run into that. So,
I was just
Yep.
general life
It's all
expectancy.
steel.
Yeah,
And,
and you said galvanized.
the pipe is rated for 50 years plus.
Right.
You know,
And that's, the pipe that you're talking, the pilings, that's just, it's got the twist screws on it, right?
It's,
It's just straight pipe?
yep.
Okay.
We do that on purpose to eliminate the soil disturbance, because that's been a big thing with the state of Michigan, especially on Lake Michigan bluffs.
Okay,
So,
that's even better.
there are companies that actually do use a twist.
Typically, a lot of pilings,
Oh,
you
yeah.
see, have got the
If you-
twist threads on it.
With typically of those type of auger cast pilings or whatever, what they're trying to do is prevent it from coming up or being pulled out, So we're looking at a load capacity. Now, there is some torsional going down the hill, but having them every 8 feet, it's non-existent, as in his report.
Satisfied?
John?
I would only ask that putting these pylons in, you got a couple guys going up and down the hill with some equipment. What's the guarantee to put that back the way you found it, so there is no erosion?
Pretty good. From the simple fact that if you look at the hill, we've been up and down that probably 20 times, looking for underground cables and stuff like that, or electrical and stuff like that. You can't even tell we were there, you know what I mean? It is pretty minimal. There are hills that are pretty steep and that you can't get up without kicking the sand. But between you and I, that is a little bit of the price of, I don't want to use the word of progress, but being able to have something to get up and down that hill. Long-term, an elevator is going to reduce the erosion of that hill because you're not going to have the foot traffic. So, short-term, yes, intense, it will be intense, but long-term, it's an advantage. What's that?
Not at this point.
Well, you won't have any traffic. Elevator, yeah.
John?
So just, if you don't mind, Chairman, with the comment from Chairman Ewan, our environmental sensitive protection ordinance, section 3.8, it's under B2, it talks about removing vegetation and the 50-foot buffer. So we got to make sure that there's not going to be vegetation, removed in that 50-foot buffer somehow or some way.
The only
during-
thing, obviously, when you drive a pipe, you might kill a little grass.
Yeah.
And then at the bottom, we're gonna put a landing, a little stairs, and we're gonna have to reach underneath and tighten bolts and everything, and Might scuff it up a little bit, but
But
we're
if
not
they're
gonna
just,
eliminate vegetation.
yeah, if there is vegetation removed, they could, replant with some native vegetation seed in that area that they have disturbed the soil there, so.
And if, I don't know if you have pictures of it or visited the site, there isn't that much vegetation at the bottom.
I've been on site.
Yeah, we don't have any intentions of, there's no need to remove anything to do what we need to do. Our track, we drive the pipe in the ground, but then our track will be all above ground,
Yeah.
so.
That vegetation, when you have, how high is the chair lift from the ground? On,
Start with the track.
okay,
The track will average between, up at the top, probably 2.5, 3 feet at most.
could you please say by the microphone?
At the top, it will start out about 2.5 to 3 foot above the ground, and as we get to the bottom, it's going to get real close to the bottom of the ground, but we're not going to have to do any digging to put in a track. It might, at the bottom, be the 8-inch track might touch the ground at the most, but we need it a little bit above the ground, obviously, to be able to run the trolley up and down without interference. So we have no reason to go into the ground.
Right, but going the other way, do you have concerns about the plant life growing up into the track?
It's
I
very.
mean, does it have to be maintained at a certain
In
level?
this situation, you might get a few trees that a squirrel throws a seed underneath and wants to grow up.
Yeah,
But
okay.
most of the vegetation there is simply grass.
Okay.
I honestly did not see anything other than, go ahead.
Yeah, the vegetation currently there is grasses, wild grasses, and
Yeah, I
ferns.
was at your property.
Yeah,
but-
there's not much actually growing. It just comes up and we don't do anything with it.
Yeah, well, I was just thinking whether or not you had to have some type of a maintenance to keep the growth down so it doesn't interfere with the operation of the machine, that's all.
If we find a bush or tree starting to grow that interferes with the operation of the trolley, we would, yes.
Okay.
Nip it.
Yeah, I don't even think you'd let it go that long, but, okay, thank you. Thank you. Oh, one other thing, and this is not part of this discussion, but more like a recommendation. I was at your property, it's a beautiful property, nice view, but I also descended down all the way and then, of course, turned around and assaulted Everest, coming back up. My recommendation to you is, are you planning on putting a handrail on that?
That's on the list. Wasn't the highest priority. This lift is the highest priority right now, but that's on the list.
Yeah, because going down, it's rather sharp, at the descent, and of course, when you're going down, you have this
Yes, momentum.
momentum going, and I just was thinking that, somewhere down the line, a handrail would be a good idea.
Yeah, we agree.
Yeah, thank you.
Chairman, I did
Yes.
have one other question. In some of these pictures, the landing, it looks like, at the bottom, I just want to make sure that that meets the impervious surface part that we need to deal with.
They're not gonna increase impervious surface over 20% with, this is a,
I mean, it looks-
permeable.
Yeah, it looks like water can drain through it and everything fairly well. I just want to make sure.
Whatever is existing at the bottom is not ours. Ours are going to be steel decking that I can hopefully pull up a picture, but there are slotted holes and round holes in it on purpose for drainage. And actually, we won an award for the structure of it and then allowing the water to dissipate without causing erosion. I should pull that up for you guys. I'll see if I can find a picture, though.
Is this the decking in this
No,
photo one?
whatever's there, that's not our decking. I think that's a temporary platform.
Okay.
That was existing before they bought the house.
Oh, I see. So these aren't, yeah, I mean, I just figured this was the spring and not after the plants grew up.
Oh, these are actually our dock pieces and our picnic table.
Oh,
That has
okay.
nothing to do with this. That's
Okay.
just, and this is all green now. It's all
you have the
it's grass
details on
and weeds, and it doesn't get mowed, it's just natural. We
Okay.
weed whack it now and then just to keep it low.
Okay.
But this is all green now.
Okay, all right.
Sorry.
That's okay, I didn't realize these were not current.
I'll show you a picture of, I'll just show you first.
Oh,
There's
okay.
slotted holes and there's round holes, and if you want to pass that around.
There are some requirements in the ordinance related to the decking and what that can look like, so whatever they put in would have to meet the ordinance
Okay.
requirements.
These can't be glossy.
No, it's not glossy.
Um,
Not after 2 years.
No bling.
Reflective surface.
No bling.
And so, Sarah, I didn't notice any,
Here you go.
any added, what do you call those?
Not sure where you're headed yet, or else I'd help.
Added things like the decking and stuff
On the
to
plan?
this, well, to your staff report. So do we need to do that?
Well, I think there is some allowances for decking and and landings and things like that in the ordinance. So I don't see anything that would, they don't need a variance for that portion of it. It was more because it's the second one that's being asked for access.
Right, I
so.
understand that. So we don't need to put any of that in our decision.
For clarification too, this will require a land use permit.
Okay, so that's your issue
Apply for a
then.
$35 land use permit. They'll supply
Okay.
the plans to the zoning department, and we'll review them and make sure they're
Yeah.
compliant.
Okay,
And then
good, thank
I assume
you.
it goes to the county, or do you guys?
And it goes to the county for the building permit, then we'll come back out and we'll do an action inspection before they're going to get occupancy to use it, to ensure that the vegetation is still intact on
Right,
it.
okay. All right, good, then we don't have to worry about that.
Any other questions at this point? Okay, thank you. Because we need to do so, we have to have a call for a public hearing or any comments from the public at 7:12. Seeing none, we'll close it at 7:12. Thank you. Okay, back to the board. Any further discussion? Nope. If so, then we need to concentrate on the two questions that are before us. And that, number one is the accommodation for the requested chairlift reasonable? One look at the slope of the hill says it's a reasonable
Yes.
request.
And you're walked down and up.
I walked down and I walked up, yes.
You were braver than I.
Though I must admit, there was a couple times on the ascent that I had to stop a few times.
And this reasonable is under the ADA, not in
Yeah.
Yes.
zoning ordinance.
Yeah.
Right.
We're dealing with the letter dealing with the ADA.
Yep.
John, reasonable?
I think it's reasonable.
Okay. Then the second is the accommodation for the requested chairlift necessary to afford equal opportunity. I think
I
that's
think so.
fairly clear.
Absolutely.
Necessary for who?
Necessary for the mother that's 93 years old, osteoporosis, and 2 broken hips at one time.
Just for the record, Chairman, that the mother is living with the Livingstons. She's not living in a separate house and visiting, she's actually living in the house. That's correct?
Yeah, the information kind of pointed in that direction.
Yeah.
She was temporary resident.
I have one more thing to we're not looking at a disability, we're looking at the hardship. And the ADA says anybody 65 and older naturally qualifies for the reasonable access to be minimized. And just having the stairs is a possibility, but it's not reasonable for them to be able to go up and down, as some of you have already testified to. So just the sheer fact that the whole family is 65 or older. Thank you.
Okay, those are the two main questions, but there is a third thing that was raised, and that is, should the approval on this variance for the chairlift be conditioned on a time or a situation whereby if in one case, if the property is sold, the chairlift would be required to be removed, or if any other issue happened that would require the chairlift to be removed. Let's say, I don't know, if it was damaged beyond repair and the principal person who has used it is no longer there, shall I say, could that also be a requirement that the chairlift be removed? And that's something that I think we need to at least deal with here as to whether or not we want to have that type of requirement in the variance request.
Chairman, if you don't mind, just bear in mind, whatever you do here sets precedents for our other cases that may come before the board in the future.
Yes.
I know you're aware of that, but, yeah.
So my only question with that is who's going to monitor it
Right.
and enforce it?
Well, and that's what I had mentioned.
Maybe a deed.
Yeah, some sort of a deed restriction, so then it would come up in the, at least during transfer.
In the search, yeah.
Yeah, would be if you wanted to have that requirement. And as Bill mentioned, I think there's a little bit differentiation between different projects and if you're requiring people to remove things or not, but to be consistent with anyone in the future or when you see it. So with whatever we do, we'll be doing similar requirements on those individuals as well. We don't typically for, like if somebody puts in a ramp to get in their front door, right? We don't typically put any conditions or restrictions on them that it has to be removed or anything when they sell it. And those could end up being in a setback or something like that as well. So as far as some of that ADA, we currently don't have anything, not to say we couldn't in the future, but for now we don't.
Yeah, you had mentioned in your example of making a restriction in the deed that the house could only be sold to somebody who would need the facility. I personally think that's a little too binding on that. But,
Can I comment?
sure.
When we were looking at houses, and like I said, houses were selling like hotcakes. This house had been on the market for a year and a half, and the price started at 1.5, and we paid less than $1 million. And I think, similar to us, the first time we saw it, there were no pictures of the stairs in the real estate listings. So you had to go to the house and see
Well, there was a reason.
that the stairs were there. And we looked at it 3 times, saying, the first 2 times going, no, the stairs are just too much. And then after not finding anything, we're like, well, we want to be here. So we bought it. So to me, my husband and I are over 65. We're going to need it. I don't know when, but some days I would like it. I'll tell you, there's days I don't want to go down to the bottom because I know I have to come back up. And it's like, if I had that funicular, that would be gone. And if we ever sell, which right now, this is our retirement home, we hope to not sell until we can't stay in a house anymore. But when we do sell, we don't want to have the same problems as the prior owners had with it being on the market forever and dropping the price. No, I don't think it was ever worth 1.5. That was ridiculous, but people were greedy back then. But, so I'm requesting that we don't have a requirement to remove it, because I think any person in that house in the future would benefit from that funicular.
Thank you.
Paul, I just want to point out in listing and also the restriction on sale could say either be sold to an ADA compliant person or removed. I mean, you could give that restriction that if somebody else buys it as ADA compliant, you could leave it and/or remove it. I mean, there is that option there a little bit. And I don't know how we would enforce that except if it's in the deed restriction. I'm not saying that we do that, I'm just saying that would be a way.
Yeah, I think there are two parts to the question. The first part will answer the second part, and that is, do we wish to put any type of limitation on the stair lift following the, I will say, the change of ownership? I don't want to say following the passing of the main client. I think it's probably more dealing with the house itself. That's the first question. And if that is a yes, then the second question says, what is that restriction?
I think
What?
I would prefer to not have a restriction.
Okay?
And Chairman, planning and zoning is under the opinion not to have a restriction on those
I understand.
particulars.
Thank you.
We just need to put something in place for this to make sure that everybody over 65 doesn't just get one of these, whatever the case may be.
Well, I think they're cost prohibitive.
Okay, I would think that to require something like this because of this seems to be like the first one. I mean, congratulations, you've just broken new ground.
In East Bay.
In East Bay. But it would seem to me that anybody who is requesting to have something would have to be qualifying under the ADA rules.
That's my understanding, and we have a doctor's letter for, excuse me if I say the name wrong, Ms. Schmitzer, that's living with the Livingstons, the mother. And my understanding from our attorneys is that we need this letter to allow for the ADA.
And Mr. Chairman, that goes back to my question, is when the mother is no longer able to use it, do we have them take it out? Or do we say in order to keep it there, you have to go and get some kind of an ADA, additional ADA for yourself or something?
It would be impossible to check on that.
Yeah.
And my, just my feeling is that if you have it in there, and once it's there, I would rather keep it with the property and a transfer as opposed to saying, based on any one particular time limit on the use of it by whoever is using it at the time.
The only thing I'd like to add to that is, by definition of the ADA and the, it's not disability, what's the word I want? Limited access, it's 65 and older. So if you obtain that, technically you do not even need a letter from a doctor to say that you qualify for that. It's automatic. So.
Chairman, I respect that opinion, but again, we have, information here from our attorneys that we needed a doctor's letter for this.
Yeah, I mean, the ordinance requires that if there's a situation like that, there has to be proven as to the qualifications, so.
We have that. In the future, they may bring that, back to the planning and zoning or to another board, that actual documentation that he's talking about, so.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, just to use an 65 and you're in, that opens it up too much, I'm afraid. Trenton, any thoughts?
I'm a little curious of how this would have, I remember our last variance had a little ADA discussion in it as well. I'm just curious if this legal opinion would have changed our conversation that last time, and if we should probably start talking about ADA compliance more generally when we talk about variances, because it's starting to come up a little bit more in our conversations. That's kind of where my brain's at right now, because I'm generally in favor of passing this, but also I'm, as somebody who's a newcomer to zoning, it seems like ADA compliant complicity is bringing up some gray areas in our zoning. So I'm just wondering, as this body, what can we do to give us more guidelines of making these decisions?
I'm glad you're raising that point, because this is something that this board is going to be requesting of the Planning Commission to open up discussion with respect to situations such as this, or more in general, what is the position with respect to ADA-type qualifications. And normally, we'll be making that request, and Bill will be making that request. And then furthermore, when I'm in the Planning Commission meeting, there's always a time when you have to make a request for new things to look at. We will be doing that, so.
And something that is different, I know that you make that comment from this versus other applications, is if we requested letters and nobody's provided the documentation to the ZBA too. So this is a little bit different in that aspect. So that's been consistent of requesting the information at least.
Yeah, because I know we had one a year ago, I think. So, yeah.
Okay. Tracy said she's not for it.
I'm for adding it, I guess, is, or, no, hold it.
The deed restriction.
The deed restriction? Okay. Sorry, Paul. I'm not for deed restriction. I think this setting right next to that, going down that slope is probably what it needs.
Okay. John?
Yeah, it's hard to put a restriction on something you can't follow anyway, so.
Okay. All right, then we're unanimous that we're not going to be putting a restriction on the approval of the variance. Okay. That being said, I'll entertain a motion with respect to the variance request.
Sure. And I would just encourage you to reference the case number and then also the criteria that you used in making your decision in your motion.
So the recommendation from the attorney, you mean?
Did they do a recommended motion in there? Okay.
Well,
Oh, yeah. Those two, yes, the criteria that's in the attorney's memo and was discussed tonight.
so I can take a stab if you want to fix it when I'm done. I would recommend that we approve variance request 5-25 for 641 Peninsula Trail dimensional variance, based on the recommendation and discussion from our attorneys as to the reasonableness and the necessity of the ADA accommodations.
Yep.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay, motion by Tracy to approve the variance of 525 with the associated language of the attorneys and the ADA references. Is there a second? Oh, I'm sorry, there is a second by Trenton. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. It's passed.
And one last thing, just, the state of Michigan, about 8 years ago, passed law saying that the chairlift is something that cannot be denied with somebody with limited mobility, which is defined by 65 and over by my lawyer. But what I'm saying is, and I don't want to appear as a bully, we were hoping this would go as it did. My next move would be, they were suggesting that we fight it in court. whatever.
Could you please
Oh,
stay
yeah,
next?
fight it in
to my-
court, which is an economical choice, you know? What I would have done is went to the state of Michigan, and they have, and I'm not going to say a carte blanche letter, but basically, it overrides any decision that a local municipality makes. And it's frustrating, I know, for you guys, but that would have been our next step anyway, and they would have took over the permitting of it, and it would have been approved. So we appreciate it. It's a lot easier this way. So-
Well, we would welcome that letter in the
Definitely,
office.
Yeah, and we do understand that too, that, you know, that's one of the reasons why the board was informed of this.
Sure.
You know, the importance of it, and, yeah, that's,
I do not have it. I'm pretty sure the lawyer I deal with does, and if I can get it to you, I'll do that. Yes,
Please.
thank you.
Okay. Moving on to our next item, which is additional dates or change of, what?
I just, total side thing, but the memorandum from that lawyer was, in my experience, one of the more clear things that I've seen written, and I assume it was under a really tight time thing. And the way it was written was, all I can say is if you ever interact with that person or give a chance to give feedback, I don't know how you felt about it, but to me, took a very complicated thing, and I thought made it really clear, and it was written instructively to you guys. It's like, look, here's what you have to decide. I'm like, I was pretty
Just for
impressed.
the record, you're talking about the letter that we received from our attorney.
Yes.
I'm just making,
which she labeled as memorandum.
I understand.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
I don't know that how you all feel about it, but if you pass my compliment through,
Sure.
I might appreciate it.
Thank
We'll
you.
pass it on. Thank you. Okay. All right, on to the calendar adjustment. There has been a change that we need to change our dates, which will now be the last Monday of the month. Just for the record, so you can take a look at it, the dates that I have would be a change to August 25th of next month, September 29th, October 27th, November 24th, and December 29th.
To clarify, are they the last Monday or the fourth Monday?
Didn't you guys already do this last time?
We
No, it was
did,
on a
but we
Tuesday.
did it on a Tuesday, the third
Changed to
Tuesday.
Mondays now.
I looked at the
There's a
last,
misunderstanding on what we needed to.
I looked at the last Monday, to be honest with you.
Okay.
Well, the September, for an example, has 5 Mondays.
Right, and so that's why I just wanted to
Okay.
clarify, because I had a discussion about the fourth Monday.
All right,
and
thank
then
you. So therefore, September would not be the
You want
29th, it'd be the
fourth Monday.
22nd.
Either one works
20
for me, I just want to make sure that we all know what we're doing.
No, that's,
Well, I already have it
No,
in
no,
my
no.
calendar
As
as
the
the
4th
Yeah.
Monday?
okay. So dovetail me here, August 25th, now September 22nd,
Yep, and you want
October 27th,
27th?
Yes,
November 24th,
yes,
Yes.
and December 29th.
22nd.
No?
22nd.
22nd, thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
Close to Christmas.
Oh, that's real close to Christmas.
We'll deal with it when we get there.
Fourth Monday of the month.
At 6:30.
Yeah, I've had, okay, 4th.
It's easier to program in your calendar now.
Right. Okay, can I have I guess a motion, please?
I will make a motion to accept the dates as presented.
I will second that.
Motion by John, seconded by Ron. We have to have a roll call vote on this.
and
Yes.
Kibble,
Yes.
Bartlett,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
and Gonzalez.
Yes. Okay, all right. One last item, is there a public hearing? Seeing nobody here, we will say that the public hearing is closed. The next meeting date, what you just talked about, is going to be August 25th. And unless there's any other comments from the board?
Do we currently have an application?
We have no applications. We had the one that got postponed.
Postponed.
That potentially could crop up, but we don't know for sure yet. I talked with Bill just before the meeting to try to get a sense of if we'd have a meeting or not. So to be determined, but right now, we don't have a new case.
Okay.
Okay.
So when do we decide that?
When would you would you require them to kind of reactivate that case? The one that was postponed to,
We should, it's going to be based on what they decide, but I believe that they'll have the information to decide, within the next week. So if they're going to appeal that decision, plus add a couple other things to the appeal, so, a couple other items.
Okay,
So stay tuned.
by next week, we should know.
I would think so.
Okay.
You're going to need at least a little time for the attorney to get your paperwork turned around. so,
Right,
for your
because
packet.
it's not a normal appeal.
Right, so I would think you would know here fairly soon if we're going to move forward.
Yeah. Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
With that, we're adjourned.